Hello! Welcome to the second part of ripping apart an older clan of mine from 2014 and putting it all back together again. If you missed the first part, I'd go ahead and give that a watch, because it talks about the clan's leader, deputy, medicine cats, and a few of the warriors. It also touches on RippleClan's environment and spooky lore. This video will cover the rest of the warriors and the queens. No hesitation, getting right back on track with finishing the rest of the warriors. First up is Tundra Tundra is a brown and gray tom with short fur and blue-green eyes. He's a cold and manipulative cat with an internal dialogue that could scorn a full-grown badger. But to the cats around him, he just seems like an average happy-go-lucky warrior doing his daily tasks and living a comfortable life. In his younger days, Tundra was always a serious cat with a knack for direct communication. He found it easy to tip off his fellow apprentices when they were all still in training, always getting the upper hand in combat by watching their strike patterns and using it against them. He has an incredibly keen eye for things like this. From a young age, he watched a lot of his kin dwindle away, partially due to the flood, but partially due to reasons never explained to him. He was raised mostly by his father, who he resented for his position alone and his ability to be unbreakable, even with the loss the two of them endured. Being the biggest troublemaker, he often got away with devious schemes, his misbehavior pushed off on the grief from losses during the flood. His mentor pitied him and excused a lot of things, which led him to believe that he could just will his way through anything if he, well, did it. His blind confidence landed him in some interesting conversations with both clan cats and rogues alike, expanding his pool of influences early in life. When he had his fling with Fernstar, he thought nothing more of it than a fun way to get his energy out, spending his nights playing chase and really letting go with another cat who just matched his energy. When his father found out, he was scorned heavily and quickly changed his pursuits from a cat outside of the clan to a fellow clanmate, Dusk. Ever since apprenticeship, Dusk had rivaled him nose to nose, being equally as smart, cunning, and precise. Out of everyone, they had the most compatibility, and he quickly offered to take on the position of her mate. She blindly trusted him with all of her heart, often showering him with adoration and praise. He dismissed the sentiment and thought it was all an act based on false ideals, thinking back to how the clan took pity on him after the flood. He had a hard time believing that another cat was truly there for him in that way. The news of Fernstar having his kits sent him into a panic to cover his steps. He agreed to take them in and raise them, lying to Duskstone to have the impression that they were found abandoned. He later turned to Fernstar and told them that their kits had passed and to never think of them again. They resented one another for this interaction and swore that they'd never be on kind terms again. Tundra was one of the cats who were working in tandem with a few others to overthrow the clan and take it over as their own. And when found out, he was the first one to own up to his actions, proudly. He willingly left right before Duskstone was about to have their own litter of kits. He went on to lead his own life, never giving closure to those around him. Next up is Tundra's father, Ashfire. He was ironically one of the few cats in the original RippleClan that didn't have some crazy neon markings to him. He was a white cat with black flame-like markings and green eyes. Nothing too crazy. Oh, and his name was Ashflame, but since I have Brave Flame, I shortened it down to Ashfire. I really loved his design, and I felt like he's the only reason I kind of enjoy gray and white cats so much now. He didn't get a ton of art made digitally, but he was supposed to hold an important role in Blood's Rise, the cringy Blood Flame comic from 2014 that I never finished. Anyway, here's remade Ashfire. Ashfire is a gray and white tabby tom with long fur and green eyes. Though age has softened his once muscular frame, his mind is sharp and his spirit is strong. The thick fur is often matted with bits of marsh reeds and brambles, and he carries a faint scent of damp earth and smoke, especially since he takes up fire tending when new roles get introduced to the clans. Though gruff, Ashfire is deeply loyal to his clan and has an unshakable sense of duty, at one point striving to become the clan's deputy. He's not one for flowery words or emotional displays, but his actions speak volumes. He holds traditionalist views that clash with those who disrupt the clan structure, being one of the cats that was the most hesitant to the changes being made in the clan's new territory. Something about Ashfire is that he's always been a fearless warrior with unwavering confidence. He's fought through the flood, swatted away large predators, and challenged rival clans head first. Battle doesn't shake him one little bit, but the fear of the unknown does. He's wary of anything unnatural, believing in the importance of honoring the past, and when things beyond his control happen, he's the first to not trust it. He swears he's watched a force greater than StarClan itself strike another cat with lightning and sap their life right from them, and ever since, he's been terrified. He hid this fear with his blunt, brave persona. But he is wary of one younger member of the clan who he swears has a curse on him. When the incident that injured Brave Flame and her siblings happened, Ashfire was one of the first cats to run and investigate the flames, noticing that it was a deliberate attack and some cat must have been behind it. From then on, he grew even more wary of the cats around him, not knowing what could happen next. When Tundra Leap left the clans, Ashfire was crushed, seeing as he had all of the confidence in the world that his son would have made him proud. He blamed everything else besides logical answers. Bad omens, a missed warning from StarClan, an evil mastermind swaying his son's beliefs. He looked for any possible reason for his betrayal, but sadly never found one. It took moons, but the grumpy old Tom slowly turned to being a grandpa to all the new arrivals to the clan, always being down to tell spooky stories and tell tales of his time. It seemed to lighten his spirit and help bring some much-deserved serenity into his life, taking on Newt Paw as an apprentice later down the road. Next warrior on the list is Indigo Petal. She was originally named Petalfur. This was one of the cats I almost nearly skipped over when remaking the clan. I have no idea how that happened since she was Bloodflame's original mentor, and even has her own piece of art to focus on how important she was supposed to be to the story. She was going to be deputy in the comic, but I decided to keep her as an average warrior in the remake. To hint at the original design, I kept her purple accents as more of a neutral lilac and made her eyes a gentle blue-purple. And since her eye scar was an integral part of her colors, I made it have significance. Now onto her remake. Indigo Petal is a white and lilac she-cat with short fur and periwinkle eyes. She takes pride in her capabilities in battle and is always itching to test the other skills in the matter. From an apprentice onwards, she was always in the leading role, picking up on strategies quickly and helping the others along. She was also a very social cat and at gatherings would make friends with pretty much everyone she met. She had a few closer friends spanning across numerous clans and didn't hesitate to update on the happenings of her own group. A bit after becoming a warrior, she was introduced to a few outsiders who she quickly made friends with. With passing time, she fell for one of the cats in this group, a cat named Rudder, and spent a lot of time outside of camp, lost in the feelings of butterflies and playful shenanigans. At the time, tensions were high with another rogue group, and the leader punished them greatly for interacting with cats outside of the walls of the clan, deeming her actions as a threat to the safety of everyone. Indigo Petal believed that with enough convincing, the cat that she'd chosen as her mate could join the clan, so she continued to slip through the walls of the camp to meet in secrecy. She wanted nothing more than to bring her outside of clan life into the safety and sanctuary of her home, and was determined to prove it. Roughly a moon passes and she announces to the clan proudly that she is expecting kids, thinking that this would open a window for her and her friends to be able to join her. Ruby Star instantly shuts her down, scolding her for her actions. Over the next few moons, Ruby Star seemed to keep coming down incredibly harsh on Indigo Petal's every slip-up, making the young cat feel as if she was being watched like a hawk. She didn't understand where any of this was coming from. She kept up with her training, stocked up the fresh kill pile, did all of her clan duties, but the harshness got to her and she would constantly find herself lashing out at the leader. She had a bit of a rebellious streak following this, and after losing her first litter to unknown causes, heartbrokenly leaves camp to be with Rudder. 2 moons later, as if things couldn't get any worse, her mate's life is tragically taken from him, leaving her once again to expect kids, but this time on her own. Sheepishly returning home, she holds onto a deep inner hurt after losing a litter for a second time. 2 new siblings were introduced to Indigo Petal upon returning, and she violently snaps on her own mother for bearing kits when she's lost so many of her own. Ruby Star intervenes her grandkit's outburst, taking the blunt of the attack to protect the kits, threatening to banish Indigo Petal after leaving her with a nasty wound on the eye. She finally broke down and told her kin about her losses, and the grief poured out in waves larger than the oceans. Together they mourned the kits that they never got to meet, helping Indigo Petal slowly heal. She keeps her past hidden from others, putting up a wall to avoid remembering her early life's tragedies. When she takes on an apprentice for the first time, which was Flamepaw, she is flooded with the feelings of adoration and love, taking her in as one of her own. And the very last cat on the Warriors list is Lakefeather. He was originally a bright blue cat with dark blue tabby stripes, taking after his mother's previous colors, but for the remake I made him take more after his father and darkened his fur. Lakefeather is a black mackerel tabby tom with long fur and gold eyes. From kidhood, this young tom had the spunkiest personality and drive to please, eager to be out of the nursery and flung into the world of training. Every senior warrior was his inspiration, hounding them about how they got the position that they were in, how long it took, what their favorite task was, etc. He was such a bright kid from the start and learned everything he could as fast as possible. He was assigned Dusk Stone as a mentor, and the two of them got along great. While in training, he excelled past the others faster than any cat expected, which often landed him scorn from his 2 other siblings, Flamepaw and Skypaw. Skypaw was the bully of the group anyway, so Lakepaw was able to easily overlook his silly antics. He really showed a lot of potential and made every member of the clan smile no matter what. He cared deeply for his clan and kin, never letting a day go by without checking on everybody's well-being. It also felt like he had insight on every situation, able to calm an argument in just a few words. The elders always said that they saw a halo of sunshine around Lake Paw, and this made him feel warm inside. When tragedy struck with the fire, he permanently lost use of some of his limbs. The retirement at merely a year old sent him into a spiral. He wanted nothing more than to be the best warrior the clan had ever seen, and now he felt beyond useless. Wound-wise, he recovered much quicker than his sister since he didn't have nearly as many burns, but he was left with lasting broken bones and partial paralysis in his lower spine. Even with his injuries, he still carried the guilt of his sister's wounds on his shoulders. With a few weeks of trial and error, he regained some movement with a few inventions aiding him. It took a while to get past the glances that everyone shot at him, intentional or not, and his confidence was bottomed out for quite some moons, but with the help of friends he was able to find his place in the clan once more. Though short-lived, his experience as a warrior and the hardships that he endured made him a valuable mentor to the younger cats struggling with their own doubts. Later down the road, when a few of the loners join the clan, he meets a Tom who loves him for who he is, never treating him any differently than the others, even from first glance. When new roles were introduced, he became the clan's storyteller, taking on the role of advisor, passing down battle strategies, keeping tabs on the clan's history, and still making sure that everyone was feeling their best. And lastly on the list for this video is the clan's queens. The first of the two queens is Beach Song. She was originally an orangey, tan, and sky blue cat with wave-like markings on her. She was meant to sort of be the opposite of Bloodflame, being beach and water themed rather than fire, so I was on some kind of elemental kick, I guess. I have no idea where I was going with it though. This was the only other cat I can recall being elemental other than fiery, emo, sad girl. Beach Song is an orange and gray, long-haired she-cat with blue eyes. Being one of the only apprentices right after the flood, she was quite conceited growing up, always letting her ego get the better of her. She always had to tell the wilder tale, catch the bigger prey, or surpass another cat in some way. Her fiery personality always landed her in a deal of trouble with her mentors and fellow clanmates, but it was never intended harmfully, it was just to grab the attention of the cats around her. This personality of hers followed her through apprenticehood, and well into being a warrior. After the flood, her snappiness and sarcastic ways grew worse and worse. Things became even more bleak for her when her injuries that she endured as a kit from the flood started affecting her mobility, and her pain levels were often through the roof. Being constantly in and out of the medicine den, no answers were ever found and she was left feeling defeated. During this time, she turned to one of her closer friends, Skyfall, for comfort, and through it, innocently fell for him. He egged on her poor behavior, defending her actions and manipulatively justifying her fiery demeanor by feeding into her insecurities. He would often remind her that she should just accept her place as queen or an elder, pointing out her varying incapabilities. Blindly loving Skyfall, she took his words to heart, and in turn grew severely restless and bitter. Without a second thought, she'd constantly start fights with cats of any rank, unafraid of the consequences that would come her way. Sadly, a lot of her snappiness was masking a deeper wound than what could be seen on the surface level. Beach Song really began to feel like she lost control of the world around her. From dealing with a clan in turmoil from the flood, losing kin from the tragedy, bitterly dealing with siblings who wouldn't speak to her, she struggled with uncertainty. She became even more stuck up and bossy as a defense mechanism against feeling powerless. Convinced she didn't belong anywhere anymore, she found herself hanging around the Queen's Den more often. For moons, she never understood why the elders of the clan chose her suffix to be Song, thinking she was a cat who should only care for herself. But things made sense when her older sister, Duskstone, had kits of her own. She fell in love with the innocence of new lives being brought into camp, igniting a spark of hope that she'd never felt before. She would spend her time calming the cries of kits, purring gentle words to soothe their woes. As time went on, she mellowed out a lot, the kits helping her heal through all of it. She hoped to one day have a family of her own, but since Skyfall abruptly left the clan, she told herself that she'd wait for the right cat to come along. For now, she's focusing on repairing her relationship with her clanmates and growing into the cat that she always wanted to be deep down. And lastly on the list is Duskstone. She was originally a light purple cat with gray patches and green accents. I couldn't think of a way to translate the purple into a believable cat, and since we already had a white cat with lilac gray markings on the clan, I made her a deep gray purple with bands of stripes around her body. Her lilac colors were translated into her eye color, so she still got hints of the color throughout. Duskstone is a long-haired black and gray she-cat with purple eyes. Through moons of experience, Duskstone is a powerful and formidable cat capable of holding her own in any scenario. She's never taken rudeness from anyone and is able to hold an authoritative tone when talking with others and stands up for what she believes in. From apprenticehood, she enjoyed organization and structure, being able to come up with strategies that even the deputy couldn't think of. The freedom of being a warrior meant everything to her and allowed her to protect those she held dear, wishing to be a cat of higher power one day. Losing her family in the flood took a devastating toll on her mental well-being, and even though she tried to use it as an inspiration to step up the safety of the clan, she had a hard time coping with the loss. Grief was something that her and her at-the-time mate, Tundra could relate to. She leaned on him for support during the roughest patch of her life, but was careful to never let any other cat see her struggling. Not too long after the incident of the flood, 2 younger kids, NightKit and Snowkit, were found abandoned and brought to camp by Tundra. Upon meeting them, she immediately stepped down as warrior to take care of them, feeling a deeper love than she's ever felt for any cat. The 2 of them became her motivation, taking pride in their achievements. They helped her take her mind off of the events of the flood for the next few moons. She was beyond grateful to Tundra and thanked StarClan for bringing these 2 to her, owing everything to them. As soon as they were apprenticed, Duskstone fell right back into place, helping organize patrols and being the strong warrior that she was. As time went on, she found herself missing raising kits and felt comfortable enough with Tundra to discuss it with him. Her 2 adoptive kits were grown at this point and fell into place in their respective positions, and life seemed calm. Word of new arrivals buzzed around camp as soon as she was expecting kits of her own. Duskstone landed in the nursery around the same time as Braveflame, and her heart was swelling with adoration and joy. She mentioned to Braveflame one night about how proud she is to see the cat that she once raised and viewed as one of her own, Nightblaze, thriving enough to have a family of his own brought her so much pride. She's always had a tough relationship with Nightblaze ever since him and his brother found out that they weren't blood related to their clan. Not so much Snowpatch, he holds nothing against her, but Nightblaze has always been harsh on his adoptive mother for a very long time, not understanding why she wasn't honest about their origins. As if a joke by fate, another adoptive kid is brought to her, a kid who shares a name and quite the similarity to Nightblaze. She jokes that she was destined by the stars to always be a queen instead of a warrior, despite the love of protecting the clan. It was later revealed that Tundra was conspiring against the clan, and all of those years of trusting him turned out to be the worst mistake she'd ever made. She learns Nightblaze and Snowpatch were actually his kids, carried by Fledge Clan's leader, Fernstar, and she assumed that the new kid that was brought to camp was also his, despite being nearly 2 years apart from the other 2. When he denies it, she becomes blinded with rage, attacking him with the fury of every she-cat in the clan. She threatens to expose him if he doesn't leave for good, and that day, he's exiled. She raised the second adopted kit, NightKit, as her own, never truly knowing her origin, but once again, loving her all the same. Moons later, when new rules were introduced, Duskstone took on the role of clan guard since she was already so well respected for organizing patrols and keeping such a keen eye out for danger, keeping her past behind her and staying strong for those she loves. There was so much tragedy with these cats! Will I ever stop traumatizing my characters? Can't we have one cat with no major canon event that changes the course of their lives? Never. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. Part 3, we'll talk about RippleClan's new generation of apprentices and end things off with the Elders.